There are two types of business owners, those who are busy and those who want to be busy. Toast is designed for both, with tools to keep you humming and help turn grind into growth. That's how you turn busy into business. Toast, built for busy.
For today's AM Minnesota program, we're going to be talking about conservation programs. And conservation, my guest is Beau Kennedy, who's a district manager for the Goodhue County SWCD. Beau, that was your official formal title, wasn't it?
That sounds right, Jerry. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you've been called a lot of things, but and we're just going to move right along. It's kind of fun to have you on AM Minnesota for a half hour. We've done a number of interviews in the past, shorter interviews for my farm news. Always conservation programs to talk about.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we've had good interviews with you down at the county fair, presenting our Conservation Farmer Award each year. We have good interviews with you at Breakfast on the Farms, and it's been great to partner with you and get some of our conservation messages out to the Red Wing area and the folks out in the field. So
one of the popular ones, Beau, and I suppose there aren't any funds left, even though you had a pretty big pot of money, was, I can't remember the acronym. The government is really good at acronyms, but it was that soil health program, and even I got in on that.
Well, good. Yes, that's a big program, and we still have funds for that, not just in Goodhue County, but across southern Minnesota. Soil health practices are being pushed pretty heavily right now because we've seen the benefits of what, reducing tillage and introducing cover crops, things like that can do to the surface water and the groundwater for protecting some of those sediment or pollutants from getting to the water. So several programs available right now for folks to come in and try. Basically, it's a small cost share payment to a landowner on a per acre basis that kind of alleviates the risk of those folks getting their feet wet and trying some of these practices.
Where cover crops work really well for me, Beau, is I grow sweet corn and peas under contract for Bird's Eye Foods over in Waseca. And I haven't even planted my peas yet. Usually it's late June or late May, very early June. It's way too late to think about trying to sneak in a second crop of beans. So it really works out well for me because I have a lot of pork-producing neighbors, and almost every year I find a pork-producing neighbor that poops on me in a good way. And then I tandem disc it so I can make sure I got all the weeds killed, hire the co-op to airflow on a couple bushels of oats and about 1.5 pounds of tillage radishes. And it's really nice to see that grow, something growing there rather than just kind of exposed soil the rest of the summer, all fall, through the winter until something's planted there the next spring.
Well, speaking my language, Jerry, that's a perfect setup for you and your operation. And there's, like most farmers know, there's no two operations alike. So you figured that out. You figured how to protect your soil basically year round and capture the benefits of soil health and help out your neighbor. And you receive his nutrients for your next year's crop from that hog facility. So that's great. That's what we like to see. Other ones like that, Jerry, would be like silage. Silage and cover crops, in our opinion, go hand in hand. There's plenty of time in the fall there to get a good stand of cover crop over the winter, and that usually comes in the form of rye, winter rye. So yeah, those are really good examples. The tillage side of things too are things that we like to promote, whether it's folks trying no-till for the first time or strip till. We've seen strip till machines getting more and more popular across the counties in southeast Minnesota. So that's a great practice as well, where you're only disturbing that strip of land where the crop goes or your seed goes, and then also the nutrients go. So you're not broadcasting nutrients across the entire field, only where the seed needs it. So
there would be some funds under the soil health program then to help a farmer buy a strip till machine then.
if they decide to do that, yep, we do have funds available for implementing the practice. We don't have funds available locally here to purchase the equipment. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture does have an annual program for equipment, such like strip till or maybe retrofitting your existing planter for no-till or things like that. That's on a grant basis. You can just Google MDA equipment grant, and I'm sure it'll come up. So
that's where you guys are so helpful at local SWCD. You know, your programs in partnership with NRCS and USDA and the Farm Bill and all that, but you know, other programs and avenues of cost share funds and to help out too.
You know, that's right. I kind of think of us as a middleman sometimes, whether it's between, you know, federal cost share programs and the landowner or even like wetland regulations or feedlot regulations. We're kind of the in-between local agency that can help landowners walk through, you know, putting up a new barn or a new pit or working through trying to tile a wetland or a wet spot in the field. We can work them through those regulations and then make sure they're good to go. So, yeah, it's kind of another aspect of the office here.
It was really evident this spring. I don't know about over in Goodhue County because you aren't as flat as my farms are down there in Faribault County and edge of Waseca and Freeborn County, but we had some really big winds again this spring. And there was some dust in the air, but I didn't see any soil moving off of my soybean field that was planted to corn this year because I had a lot of soybean residue on there. My beans that I planted this year had a lot of corn residue there yet, and that really makes a difference.
It does. You know, if landowners can hold off any fall tillage of soybean fields, that's one very basic step you can do towards soil health. It's a lot of our soil is just not needed, and it only causes problems in the springs. That's like you mentioned there. I grew up over by St. Peter Nicollet area, and I talked to my folks last week, and they said that they had to close parts of the highway because the wind was kicking up so much wind erosion there that they couldn't see through the clouds of dirt. So not good over there. So I think we're slowly transitioning to better, you know, minimal tillage equipment. That's been huge over the last few years. That's great to see. But ultimately, that first step could just be not doing anything in the fall for those soybean fields.
But just think how far we've come, Beau, in a voluntary program, having the science and the research to show that we can make different farming practices work and we can do a better job of conserving the soil. And it's not there with a big stick of a law and a regulation, but hey, let's figure out how we can work together. And the federal government, i.e. the taxpayer, helping with some cost share funds to make things better. I think that's why we've made so much progress over the years.
Yeah, I would agree. Learning from some of the, you know, educators in our field, and probably more importantly, learning from each other on how to implement some of these like minimal tillage practices on the field and still make a dang good living doing it. So it's been good to see. You
mentioned that the soil health program, there are still some funds available, Beau?
Yeah. Funds are available right now. I'd suggest folks coming into the office or shooting us a call to line up an appointment, and we'll just pull up your fields of where you're thinking of trying either a cover crop or maybe, you know, next year doing no-till or something like that. We can sit down with you and walk through the process, and it's pretty easy. We got a good staff here that will help you, and then you'll leave here knowing exactly, you know, what type of cost share payment you could get by implementing that practice. So
when they first announced this program, I know you probably know Steve Poss and Alan Krause, and they were really excited because in the past the funds were really limited, and because I've been planting cover crops on my pea ground for a number of years, Beau, I hadn't qualified for any of the programs because it was just for new cover crop. acres. And I thought, well, boy, that isn't fair. But anyway, they were really excited because this is the first time that there was significant funds available. And like I said, I even qualified. Now, I have to say salute to the Waseca County SWCD. I don't know, you said it was easy, but it looked like there was a lot of paperwork, but they just went through everything, and all at once I got the email, and I had to sign it, and I was trying to figure out where to sign it. Oh, I missed one, so I had to scan over that page. So you guys, maybe it's easy, but you take care of a lot of that paperwork and make sure we did it right.
Yeah, again, we're the middleman. We try to make it easy for you and hide the rest of the stuff that probably isn't as important to your operation, but we still educate you on why you're doing it and educate you on, the funding that will be received, and you can go on your way. So
now, because of the funding that was available, I'm going to take the next step, and I think that was probably the incentive for the program, Beau. But I grow sweet corn too. Well, usually it's maybe early September, late August that my sweet corn gets harvested. Well, there was a lot of crop residue there, so I didn't worry too much about it. But now because of the cost share funds available, I'm going to get a cover crop on there.
Well, good. Keep it covered as long as possible. That's great.
And here's the other thing with cover crops. So last 3 years, it's been so wet down our way. Well, then last summer, the only time it won't rain is when I want it to rain. I got my cover crop seeded. Now you're waiting for a rain. It did not rain until the first week in September. Mm-hmm. And it rained, and with that 3,000 gallons of finishing barn hog manure on there, whatever, once those oats and tillage radishes got going, I couldn't believe how much it had grown between early September and when we got the killing frost there, middle of November.
Yeah, it's amazing how fertile our soils are in this part of the country, and I think we've been kind of missing the boat for a very long time and not taking the opportunity to harness the quality of our soils and continue to grow more crops and prevent leaching of our nutrients to the groundwater by simply throwing some seeds out in the fall and harnessing that and improving our soil health. So, like you mentioned, after sweet corn, we have many landowners right now taking part in some sort of soil health program, and it's really up to them on how they want to seed their cover crop, for instance. Some folks did it with a drone the last couple of years. They drone it on into standing corn. The majority of folks do some sort of just drilling, no-till drilling, whether it's their own drill or they hire someone to come and drill it. That seems to be the most effective type of germination by drilling, obviously, and you can reduce your application rates by doing so. So, yeah, it's really up to the landowner to decide that part of it. We do have a few rules on what can be planted at different times of the year, but we can work with landowners on that. So
the other fly in the ointment can be what your herbicide program was. And there again, you've got some experience with that at the SWCD offices to know what cover crops will grow.
That's right. Knowing what's been sprayed in the last year or so would be important information to bring in when you sit down with one of our technicians to grab that from your agronomist at the co-op. So that'd be good. Good idea, Jerry. You're always on top of that stuff.
Who's on top of that stuff? You guys are. But the other key is if you have a lot of experience growing cover crops, all right, you know how to get it to work, but you're still talking to other farmers about maybe there's a better way. But the really key is if you don't have a lot of experience, you don't have to make the same mistakes as some of the farmers that have been doing it for a lot of years. Talk to them. You're the resource at the SWCD so you can be successful right away.
That's right. Well said, Jerry. I don't know what to add to that.
Well, Jerry was right. I don't hear that very often. Stand by, Beau. We have to take a break for the markets. When we come back, we want to talk about some of the other programs that are really popular there at the Goodhue County SWCD, like wells, nitrates are a really hot program and a lot of discussion. And we should talk a little bit about trees, too, and I've got another story for you there. I had to get a job in radio, Beau. I got all kinds of stories.
Sounds good.
But anyway, the market update sponsored by the KDHL Agri Boosters, including Craig Keller at the Keller Insurance Agency in Nerstrand. Of course, Craig helps protect all things important to you. Also, Northern Buildings for quality post-frame construction. Find out more. Go to their website, northernbuildings.com.
Morning. It's time for a market update here on this Tuesday morning on the Linder Farm Network. A lower look to beans, corn, and wheat. Joining us, Jim Emter, Van Auning Company, Alexandria. Jim, what's weighing on markets today?
Yeah, Linda, a lot of hope that this Iran situation comes to terms here this week. I mean, we continue to hear rhetoric that deal is closed, this shouldn't last too much longer, and then we hear of strikes this morning. So, again, grain markets were able to come back for a little bit this morning, but now seeing some pretty good pressure here once again and then getting back near some of the overnight lows, especially for the old crop corn. I think one of the big setups that producers need to realize right now is when you look to the weather front, that things are going to get drier across the northern plains, warmer here. That's probably just what the doctor ordered here to get these crops coming out of the ground and emerging and looking good, get the color right on these things. So again, that's step one. Number two here that we need to watch is manage money. Manage money did not liquidate as much as I thought they may have over the last week. Tuesday to Tuesday, they only sold 6,130 contracts of corn, and in soybeans only sold 7,011. So, Linda, we've got some pretty big length here yet for managed money. Index funds near some big holdings as well on the long side. We got farmers holding old crops, South America's big crop. I mean, we've got to continue to see the strong demand in here, or else we lose some of this bullish momentum really quickly. And I believe that's what's occurring, and especially with the good weather we've got around. So as we come in here and look at the next piece, the seasonal highs, they tend to occur over the next 15, 20 days or so. And, for some of the corn markets, again, last week was some of the key seasonal dates. So, again, it's not a surprise to see some sell pressure this time of the year when things look good. Things often look good this time of year. But again, as we come in here to later June, that's going to be the next dynamic. But for now, a little drier was a good thing here for the northern plains.
Livestock futures. Well, cattle and feeder cattle higher today. Lean hogs lower. What's happening?
Yeah, you got to place the number that was bearish, Linda, and you pop right out of there. It almost felt like the market already knew it was coming with feeders down big on Friday, live cattle able to bounce back, and the on-feed number that was a little friendly versus a placement that was bearish seems to just be ignored here now at this point, and we bounce back here for a cattle market. Again, we've got to get through the day, but overall right now we're holding some pretty good support. Cash undertones reasonably strong here, and we're coming into our prime time for grilling season, Linda, so we'll see if that demand can remain strong. As for the hog market, though, not much cooking there. Right now, the July hogs sitting right at $100. We've got to hold this level, Linda. We've talked about the importance. June made the bad contract and faded. We'll see if July does the same thing. But just cash undertones not great in hogs.
Jim Emter, Van Auning Company, Alexandria. In Chicago, July corn, $4.57, down 6 1/4. September, down 5. December, $4.82.5, down 4. July beans, $11.87.5, down 9. With August down 8, November 11.81 1/4, down 6 1/2, and July Minneapolis wheat up 5 3/4, September up 6. June live cattle down 40, August up 77, August feeder cattle up 187, June lean hogs up 37, July down 7. This is the Linder Farm Network.
You don't think about your well until something's off. Rust stains, low pressure, water just doesn't taste right. That's not something you ignore. That's your well telling you it needs attention. Urban Drilling and Pump has been fixing wells across Minnesota since 1956. From cleaning and repairs to full system upgrades, they'll get your water right again. Call Bill and the team today at 320-523-1621. or visit irvindrilling.com.
For over 85 years, Farm Bureau Financial Services has served farmers and ranchers. From your farm and ranch to machinery, crops, and livestock, we have you covered. And for more than 25 years, we've been the #1 ag insurer, protecting over 42,000 farmers and ranchers. Because when it comes to ag, we don't just get it, we live it. Learn more at fbfs.com/rootedinag. #1 ag insurer, 1996 to 2024, S&L P&C Group, Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, direct written premium.
That's our update.
The market update was sponsored by the KDHL Agri Boosters, including Northland Buildings for quality post-frame construction. Find out more. Go to their website, northlandbuildings.com. Also, Craig Keller over at the Keller Insurance Agency in Nearstrand. Craig does help protect all things important to you. My guest on today's AM Minnesota program is Beau Kennedy, District Manager for the Goodhue County SWCD. Beau wanted to talk a little bit about the tree program and windbreaks. And we were talking before the market break about the soil health program, but some of those funds, they can be used to help get a windbreak going too, can't they?
Yeah, that's right, Jerry. Like most SWCDs in the state of Minnesota, we have a local tree program, and there are cost share funds available for planting trees and windbreaks and things like that. We're kind of poor timing, but we are done with our tree sale for this year. But now is the time to plan for next year. So if you need a new windbreak, or if you have an existing windbreak that's dying, maybe it's some ash trees are dying, now is the time to shoot us a call or stop in and talk with one of our staff about rejuvenating your existing stand or creating a new windbreak or timber program that you may have in your woods. Our website usually goes live in the fall of the year, and we take orders over the winter, and then we coordinate those orders with 2 different nurseries across the Midwest here. And basically, all those trees get brought to our office, and we sort them, and then you come and pick your order up. So there's a lot of folks that do that, and we appreciate those folks that have come in over the years. We sell about 15,000 trees each year through our little shed back here, so it's pretty cool.
We use that program in a couple different ways, Beau. We had 80 acres, just a bare 80. The building site had been taken out, so we didn't have to farm around it anymore. And it had a line fence, some steel posts and rusty wire. And Dad and I worked pretty hard. We got all of that taken out. The next year, we planted along the line, what used to be the line fence, we planted a windbreak, half-mile long across the whole length of the field on the west side. That worked out really well. It's amazing how fast those trees grew.
That's great. Did you work with the Soil and Water Office on that, or did you just hammer that out yourself?
No,
Jerry?
we worked with, it was Waseca County SWCD that helped us, and then we rented their tree planter, and it was a combination. There's some ash trees, and I think honeysuckles are in that, and it was just one single row.
Nice. So we too have a tree planter for rent here that pulls behind. We usually offer that up to folks that have a couple hundred trees that have to get in the ground. Otherwise, it's usually not worth bringing out and about. But it's old, but it does still work. Those are really good for windbreaks. A lot of our customers plant for wildlife habitat too. So we sell a lot of fruit shrubs that are geared towards keeping birds and nesting birds and deer and things like that in an area, and nice wind and winter protection. So we see that, and we see timber production. So the eastern part of Goodhue County is, there's a fair amount of timber harvest and timber production for agriculture, not corn and soybeans. So a lot of folks buy oaks and walnuts and hard maple from us to plant in their existing timber stands as well. So it's kind of a diverse program.
You might be surprised at what a big tree might be worth. The farm I grew up on, Dad and I, this is going back about 40 years now. It was box elders and cottonwoods. You can imagine what the grove, the windbreak looked like. And so we were going to had that all taken out, dozed out, burn and bury, and then plant a new, 2-3 rows for a windbreak. And SWCD there in Waseca County back then put us in contact with a forester. Come to find out, those great big tall cottonwood trees, we got enough money from those. Somebody came and logged them, and I guess they make pallets out of them. That paid for all the dozer work of taking the whole grove out so we could start over.
Win-win. It's a win-win, Jerry.
And we never dreamt that those ugly, dirty cottonwood trees would be worth anything, but they were. But now the glitch, the fly in the ointment is there's some evergreens. I don't know if that's a proper term that you might call them, but I call them evergreens, and a row or two of honeysuckles. And I'll give you one guess as to what the taller trees are that so far I'm holding my breath. They aren't dying yet.
Green ash.
Yeah, because we learned something, and you couldn't plant elm trees anymore. Oh, boy.
Yeah, emerald ash borer is real. It's here, and it's been here for a while, and it's only going to spread to more parts of Minnesota. But in the meantime, and for the last 5 or 10 years, we've been trying to promote hackberry, red and sugar maples, black cherry, and red oak or white oak as alternatives to green ash, and try to get them started as soon as possible so there's not a giant void in the landscape. I mean, I think green ash is one of the most abundant tree species in southern Minnesota, so it's going to look pretty weird for a little while here.
Yeah, and you aren't just planting now one species. You mentioned 2 or 3, and that's probably a good idea to not plant your windbreak all to a certain species for the taller trees.
That's right. Diversity is best there. So if one disease gets one species, you still have something else there to help protect your field or your home or your homestead from the wind and snow. So
let's change gears. We've got a couple, 3-4 minutes left. Yeah, Beau, I wanted to talk a little bit about the well program. Are there programs? We've got lots of folks living out in the country, and we've still got some abandoned building sites with maybe a well there. Yeah.
So the Goodhue County, along with some of the other counties in southeast Minnesota, are currently doing a well inventory. Basically what it is we're trying to figure out where all the wells are in rural Goodhue County. For years, the Department of Health, they've been in charge of creating a database. When the well driller pokes a hole in the ground, they're required to submit some information to the Department of Health regarding the depth and size and things like that. Well, over time, some of that information has kind of got lost and misplaced, and so now we're trying to figure out exactly where a lot of those are. So we may be contacting you or have contacted you as a listener already if you live in rural Goodhue County and are drinking water from your own well, so that we might have sent you a letter, or if you haven't gotten one, you might get one. Please do not throw it away. Please read it and try to provide some information that we're asking you in that letter.
Why don't you explain, Beau, why it's so important? Boy, an abandoned well is a direct line from any contaminants on the surface right down to drinking water.
Yeah, that's right. Whether it's a new well or an old abandoned well, it does pose a potential risk to the groundwater for whether that's spills around a well or over time nitrates can leach into some of our drinking water. Knowing where those wells are will help in the event of emergencies, and it also helps public health professionals assess the risk of contaminated water that the public is drinking. So if we know there's a area in Goodhue County that has 80-foot depth of an aquifer that people are pulling out of, and it's contaminated with something. Knowing where those wells are and how deep some of them are in that area would be really good to know for the public health side of things. So we just ask that you take the time and fill out the information in the letter if you do receive one. If you got troubles with any of that stuff, just call into our office. We're kind of handling most of those calls, and we'd appreciate the feedback on anything you can provide.
And just think, too, if you had an open, abandoned well, and then maybe you have a flood. Well, have you seen some of that water when there's a bad flood? There's just about everything in there. There again, a direct avenue from flood water, all contaminated, right down to your drinking water.
Right. So, and if you do have an abandoned well on your property, we do have cost share funds available to help have a well driller seal that. And that's just as easy as signing up for a cover crop program. Just come in and we'll look at a map with you and get an estimate from the well driller and help you with the cost of sealing that up. Because you're right, that's a direct connection to our drinking water. And in Goodhue County and similar in southeast Minnesota, about 10% of our rural wells are above that 10 parts per million nitrate level. So the risk is real, and we just want to make folks aware of that by getting their well tested every year and helping us with identifying the location of those wells. So,
well, thanks, Beau. I can't believe the half hour flew by. We'll have to talk again soon. And, of course, before we get another AM Minnesota program, well, if there's something going on, you know how to get a hold of me.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks. Appreciate the time, and have a good summer.
Beau Kennedy, District Manager for the Goodhue County SWCD.
Today on the pod, we're talking to Megan, trapeze artist and scratchers enthusiast. So, Megan, what do you like about playing scratchers?
Well, they're easy to play when I'm hanging around.
Oh, okay. Like when you're relaxing?
No, like when I'm hanging on the trapeze. I swing upside down, then do a quadruple somersault, all while playing a scratchers. Watch this. Ta-da!
Unbelievable.
I know, right?
Scratchers from the California Lottery. A little play can make your day. Please play responsibly. Must be 18 years or older to purchase player claim.
Hear that? That's the sound of busy. To a restaurant, all that shouting and banging might as well be a symphony. It means the long days and longer nights are paying off. Sure, it's noisy, but there's a worse sound. This, not busy. Busy means business, which is why Toast gives restaurants the tools and tech they need to help them perform under pressure. Sounds pretty good, right? Toast, built for busy.